The Olympics is the pinnacle of athletic achievement, where the best athletes overcome the hardest training and adversity to excel on the world stage. Over 5 billion people tune in to watch the Olympics on TV and social media. These athletes represent not only their home countries, but their teammates and their families. So how hard is it to make it to the Olympic Games, and what are your realistic chances of getting on the podium? First, we need to understand how many people actually go to the Olympics. Well, in 2016 in Rio, there were 11,000 athletes from 200 countries in 306 events across 26 sports. Now you gotta remember, the Olympics happen every 2 years, winter and summer. In the Winter Games, 2.9 thousand athletes competed from 96 countries in 102 events across 15 sports. So as you can notice, there's a lot more athletes that compete in the summer simply because there's 26 sports compared to 15 sports in the Winter Games. But if you think about this as like an Olympic quad, so in a 4-year cycle where you have the Summer Olympics and the Winter Olympics, there's about 14,000 athletes that are coming from all over the world, over 200 countries, to one spot representing their country to compete in whatever their sport discipline is. Now we have to remember that the world population is 8.1 billion people. Yeah, the world is pretty massive. So when you think about, well, how likely are you to go to the Olympics in an Olympic quad? Like, what percentage of the human population is actually going to the Olympic Games? And it's this very, very small number. 0.000017, which is the equivalent of 1 in 500,000. 1 in 500,000 people in the world are gonna go to the Olympics. Well, which sport is the hardest to make the Olympic team in? In track and field, for example, you can have up to 3 individual athletes per event. Now in Paris in 2024, there's gonna be 1,810 athletes, 905 women, 905 men. In swimming, the top 2 athletes from each individual event can represent their country at the Olympics. Now, a lot of people say there are too many events in swimming and so many different medals that you can win. You can win 37 different events in swimming, 18 men, 18 women, and a mixed medley relay that was added in the 2020 Olympics. This is what helped Michael Phelps become the greatest Olympian of all time. 28 Olympic medals, 23 of them were gold. Speaking of greatest of all time, Michael Phelps is the GOAT both in and out of the water, which is why he took the plunge to create the Chili Goat with Master Spas. And their motto is go cold and live bold. Because let's face it, if you want to be like the greatest of all time, you have to go sub-zero. These cold tubs have a soft tread, non-slip material on specific areas of the tub to make it safer, easier, and more enjoyable to use. And it has the perfect armrest to make it easier to get in and out of the spacious wide seat, and leg area fit for a king or a queen. Plenty of room. This is more than just a cold plunge, it's a transformative experience that is named after the GOAT himself. It can be installed outdoor or indoor, and is really the best ownership experience. So make sure you head over to the link in the description to see how you can get your hands on one of these amazing products and become the GOAT yourself. You know, one of the hardest things about going to the Olympics is just qualifying in the first place. And if you're in a competitive country that has a legacy of athletic performance in a specific discipline, in a sport, it can be that much harder just to qualify. So let's take the United States, for example, and my favorite sport, swimming, to break it down. So in the United States, there's 340 million people. If you look at the next layer, well, how many people are actually eligible and trying to compete in swimming? Well, that would be USA Swimming, and there's 340,000 members across the United States. So that means 0.1% of the population in the US is a member of USA Swimming. Now, in order to qualify for the Olympics, you first have to qualify for the US Olympic team trials in swimming. And the number of people that qualify for that is about 1 to 2,000 people. I'm just gonna use 1.7K to keep the math relatively simple. So that means of USA Swimming members, only 0.5% of them, meaning 1 in 200, will end up qualifying for the US Olympic team trials. And if you haven't seen, this is one of the most intense and competitive events in the world for swimming. Now, I'm super excited to be heading to the US Olympic trials in Indianapolis in just a couple of weeks. So if you guys are watching this and you're gonna be there, make sure you give us a shout out. It's gonna be absolutely insane. Tens of thousands of people will be cheering on the athletes to compete and qualify. Now, of the athletes that do go to the US Olympic team trials, only 52 will be be crowned Olympic athletes representing the United States of America in the Olympics. And that's because only 26 men and 26 women will be allowed to qualify per country. So in the United States, 52 team members will be chosen to represent their country. So that means of those who even qualify for the US Olympic trials, only 3% of them will end up making the team. Think about those numbers and think about just how competitive it is. If you're a swimmer, I'm going to throw up on the screen what the qualifying times are for the men and women events at the US Olympic trials. Go ahead and pause the screen. These times are absolutely ridiculous. You're a world-class athlete for sure. So if you do the math on it, 1 in 15.3 million people are going to make it to the Olympics from the United States of America in swimming. Now, if you're wondering just how rare it is how does that compare to like being struck by lightning? Is it that hard? Yeah, because your chances of being struck by lightning in your lifetime is only 1 in 15,000. To make the US Olympic team in swimming, it's 1 in 15 million. And yes, country size does matter. It's important to remember the size of your country can make it that much more competitive. I have 3 examples of that. You have the United States, Australia, and China. The US has a population of 340 million. That means 1 in 15 million people will make the Olympic team in swimming. Remember, only 52 athletes will qualify. In Australia, their population is only 26 million. So the chances of making the Olympic team in swimming in Australia is 1 in 500,000. But if you go to a country like China with 1.4 billion people, your chance of making the Olympic team for China is 1 in 275 million. So the larger your country, you have to compete with your own fellow countrymen and women just to qualify. Now, when you do make it to the Olympics, how many people actually qualify in swimming? The total number that will be in Paris is 852 swimmers. So if you think about the math there, well, what are your chances of actually getting a medal? How many people will actually qualify and then get a medal? So at the Olympics, there's 37 events in swimming, 3 medal places per event. You got gold, silver, and bronze. So that means there's 111 total medal slots. Now, don't get too much into the details about men, women, mixed relays, whatever. About 100 or so medals are up for grabs. So that means of the 852 swimmers that are going, 13% of them theoretically could walk away with a medal. But some athletes are going to win multiple medals. So it's even more competitive than that. Just because you make it to the Olympic trials in your country and you make it to the Olympic Games, you're one of these 852 swimmers, you're not clean for a medal because some athletes like a Caleb Dressel, like other top swimmers, are gonna win multiple medals. And because of that, this number is actually gonna be a lot lower than 13%. Maybe 1 in 20, like 5% of those that compete in the Olympics will end up getting a medal. And I know swimming is somewhat controversial at the Olympic Games because it is the second most medal count event sport at the entire games. The only sport or activities that get more medals than swimming are the athletics. So anything on the track, speed running, speed walking, some other sport is in that category as well. That's the only discipline that gets more medals than swimming. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Should swimming add more events? In terms of Olympic medal count, yes, there's plenty of more options to add. 50 backstroke, 50 breaststroke, 50 butterfly. There's more relay combinations you can make, and these don't exist in the Olympics. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments if they should be added. Now, to really drive home the point of just how absurd it is to make the Olympics and to win a medal at the Olympics, you gotta remember when someone makes it to this level, they're not in the top 1%. They're not in the top 0.1%. They are not in the 0.00001%. You know the expression, you're 1 in a million. Well, if you make it to the Olympics and you win a gold medal, heck, you're 1 in a billion. As you can see just how difficult it is to make the Olympics at all in some of these countries, to get into the podium and then to win something, it is really spectacular. Now, I hope you guys appreciate what it takes to get to that level and what the odds are stacked up against you if you're in that pursuit. I hope you guys check out this video over here where I teach you how to swim like an Olympian. Check it out and happy swimming.